Hey everybody, back at PASIC 2017, day 2, and I'm hanging out with a great drummer, Mr. Bernie Dresel. Thank you so much for hanging out, taking the time to say hello.
It's cool to be here.
You did a great clinic earlier today, and I'm a big fan of your playing, man. I've been listening to you for a long time, and so, again, thank you for showing up.
All right, glad to be here.
So you were playing some music from your band, the BBB?
Yeah.
The BBB?
That's right,
The BBB.
Not all bands have the word the anymore. They
Right.
used to in the 60s.
And
I'm bringing back the.
There you go. And I was just asking Bernie what BBB stands for.
Yes.
And it's sort of an open interpretation of
It is.
whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, whether it was a mistake or not to call it the BBB, because there is the Better Business Bureau.
There is.
But I wanted it to be open where maybe someone thinks it's Bernie's Big Band, but then it wouldn't be Bernie's Big Band featuring Bernie Dresel. So it's open, and including you could come up with something rude,
Yes.
something what you think is creative, something funny. That was the idea. Some people get mad. I won't tell them what it stands for, though, because it really doesn't stand for anything specific. It stands for everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. Now, it's based in L.A.,
Yes.
but so how often are you taking the band on the road and doing stuff on the road, and how often are you playing in Los Angeles?
It's really almost impossible to bring a big band on the road doing instrumental music.
Right.
You know, I toured with Brian Setzer Orchestra for
Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah.
He had the Stray Cats in front of him, you
Right.
know, where he came from, and it's vocal music, too,
Right.
you know, along with him being an amazing guitarist. But instrumental music, suddenly, you know, like, that's even hard to get on television, you know. So to tour with it is tricky with 16 people. I mean, 16 guys and gals in the band is like 3 5-piece bands trying
Sure.
to tour. So meaning hotels, airfare, pay,
All
all that.
Oh, that.
You know, and the band is full of professionals, not kids that
Right,
are just
right,
starting
right.
up. So
Right.
they need to make a living and make some money. And so usually when a big band, like even the Big Fat Band, when I did Gordon Goodwin's Big Fat Band, we'll do dates out of town, maybe 1 or 2 at a time. So you're able to make it happen, the one gig happen, but the amortizing costs of all the airfare and hotels is for one gig, not you're on a bus or one airfare to get out and do a 2-week tour. So right now, I'm making people come to us.
That's okay.
In Los Angeles, just like Village Vanguard Orchestra is always at, you know, the Village Vanguard, New York City, every Monday. We play once a month, generally at a club in Burbank called Joe's Great American Bar and Grill.
Okay.
That's where Live in Burnin was actually recorded live. We recorded 18 tunes live, no overdubs, no fixes, and picked 12 that'll make a good record that we sounded good on, and released it on CD. This here is a Blu-ray, but not Blu-ray video. It's Blu-ray audio, surround sound, 5.1,
right.
9.1, or a 3D. And we released it on vinyl.
Nice.
And also something called tape.
What?
Reel-to-reel tape, like
Did ya?
10-inch reels, audio file, 15 IPS. So all these different formats, including downloads at iTunes.
Of course, yeah.
So, but the live album, and then we mixed it in stereo and surround. Yeah.
That's awesome. So as you mentioned, you mentioned you've had some great gigs in your life.
Yeah.
Brian Setzer was really cool. Gordon Goodwin's band and others. You've had a great career in LA doing movies and TV.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Which is great. So if I could take a step back, how did you not get your start, but what kind of music were you listening to when you were a kid? How did you fall into this big band sort of jazz thing? Were you a fan of that music growing up? Did you love that kind of stuff?
At my age of 56, I'll be 56 Sunday. It always
Your
starts,
birthday Sunday?
Yeah.
We have the same birthday.
You're
November 12th? Wow.
You know what? Charles Manson's birthday is that day, too.
Wow. Okay.
They don't usually put that on everyone that has your birthday the same day. I found that one time. I went, ooh.
That's what a great surprise. That's very cool. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Early.
So, what were we asking?
I was asking you what kind of... What
kind of music?
Yeah, so what did...
Well, it always starts with the Beatles, believe it or not.
Well,
I was 2.
I get that.
I was 2 when they were on Ed Sullivan. That joy of the crowd yelling and screaming girls, although you don't know what screaming girls means at 2 years old.
Right.
You just see joy. They sounded great. It looked like fun. There's that. So that's a beginning thing there. However, probably at about 7 or 8 is when I got a Buddy Rich record called Live at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And it's where he was doing more rock kind of tunes, and kind of a hybrid there, playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. And so that got me into the big band, that record. And I was already taking lessons starting at 4.5.
Okay.
All on a pad and snare drum. I had drum sets when I was 2 or 3, and then when I finally started taking lessons at the ripe old age of 4.5, they said, all right, get rid of the drum set. We're just going to work on the pad, drum pad, sticks, hands. So I didn't get a drum set then, an Olympic blue Premier kit, 20 by 12 bass drum. When I was 8 years old, I got that drum set again. I had practiced for 3 years for that drum set. So that was the beginning of my big band things, and then I was doing a lot of drum corps, rudimental type drumming.
So you had the love of drums from when you were a young kid.
Yeah.
You knew what you wanted
banging,
to do from back there.
You know, the story of the banging on the pots and pans, wooden spoons, trash cans in the neighborhood, singing Hound Dog at the top of my lungs. And Grandma bought me Meet the Beatles. That was my first album.
Right.
I probably had some singles before that. But I mean, that's young. I'm in the theater watching Hard Day's Night when I'm 2.5.
All right.
Yeah.
So now, since you've done, big band music, your movies and TV show dates that you do a lot of.
Yeah.
To me, that seems that you would be a good reader. So did you study a lot of reading growing up? I mean, how have you developed that part of your career? Because that's it's an art form to
Yes.
learn how to read music and be able to pull off sessions like that. There's some high pressure things, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So how did you?
Because I do
learn that.
Not only is the reading drum set, but I do a lot of orchestral percussion.
Okay.
Which is definitely reading.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's not just sometimes drum charts that you're reading, you're interpreting.
Right.
It's a guide.
Right.
Even if they write something specific for a TV show or movie on the drum set part, they still want you to interpret it and make it better.
Right.
Than what a keyboard player wrote.
Right.
Or the drummer should play or whatever. So reading was right off the bat when I was 4.5. Had a book to the first lesson, quarter notes. And believe it or not, as much as I can talk now, I was pretty darn shy. So I listened very well.
Okay.
You know, they said, you should have brought him in earlier. And I was pretty mathematically minded, and I just was reading from day one with hand position and reading quarter notes. And that's a lot of reading to do before I got to college, 4.5 years old till 18, of a lot of books, a lot of orchestral excerpts, snare drum etudes,
right.
rudimental stuff, reading it all, big band charts, and I was always reading.
Cool.
And I guess I'm known as a good reader, yes.
Well, it serves you well because you've had a good career with that
like
tool.
the TV stuff like Family Guy or Simpsons or American Dad. I'll be on drum set, but I'm also then, okay, we don't need drums on half of the cues. So the other half, I'm out in the percussion section playing orchestral snare drum or a marimba part or congas or whatever it calls for.
Nice.
Whatever you can hit and make a noise on, we'll do it.
Nice.
So
that's great.
So reading, is important. And also playing to a click in the studio,
for sure.
especially in movie, TV, everything's synced up to the picture, so it's clicked out of where it's going to start and end. So, records could be without click, and they always used to be.
Some were, yeah, for
they
sure.
They were, all those Earth, Wind, and Fire records, Tower of Power records. It wasn't perfect click time, and it just felt good.
Right.
Human beings making music. And
what a concept.
An internal clock from the drummer. But now with Pro Tools and the grid, there's a lot of stuff to click track, and you got to be, as a drummer, probably the biggest fault maybe a drummer might have playing to a click is them getting ahead of it, especially on a fill.
Right.
Where you get excited. Oh, I have a drum fill. It's my big moment.
Right.
Dugga-dugga-dugga-da. And it hasn't happened before. And you get excited, and then you're ahead of the click on that.
Right.
Which isn't a problem until, there's a click there. I've got to slow down to get back to it. So that's some of the things, too, to adapt to playing to a click that I told I did pretty well.
Very good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your gear. Sweetwater, we're a gear company. It's all about that for the most part.
Yeah.
Although we do other things as well. So you play Craviotto drums.
Yes.
Fantastic drum company. It's a new brand, relatively new brand for Sweetwater, but you know it's well known by anybody who plays drums what fantastic drums those are. How long have you been playing that brand?
That's a good question. How long? Because originally you start with like a snare drum.
A snare drum,
you
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
so I had some of the first Lake Superior drums that were underwater for, you know, and the trees were from 1300.
Yeah, right.
And Johnny was making some snare drums for DW for a while in the 90s. So that's where I first started getting associated with the Craviotto name and the snare drums. But probably, time flies. It's been a few years now, but where I'm officially playing them. I did experiment and go, let me check these kits out when I was still with DW and checking them out. But I gotta warn everybody, when you play the Craviotto drums, it's like crack. Although I've never tried crack. You're gonna go, and go, I want more of that. And you're gonna start pushing other things aside to get more of that, which could be your car payment.
Right.
I don't know. For one thing.
Right.
But you know, as far as a drum, you go, that is special. Because I'll tell you this, I bought a lot of snare drums over my years. And sometimes you go, this is the one. This is the one. And you get it. And you're excited about it. Then eventually you go, what else we got? That's going to be the one. And now that when I started having Craviotto snares and the drums themselves, you go, that's the one. And you never go, what else? They're just different varieties of different woods, different edges that they do. So there's variety just within the company where you can easily have 12 drum sets of different makeups that sound different sizes, different edges, how they react, and I love them.
Very cool.
Woo.
And you also play Sabian cymbals?
Sabian cymbals, kind of new to me. Played another company's cymbals for 25 years, Zildjian. But I started to play some Sabians at NAMM, and I started going, I'm liking those. And everything about the company, the people that are there,
they're very
behind
nice
the
people,
scenes, the team they have, Andy Zildjian, Chris Danke, Bob Rupp. It was a while. I don't move companies easily because I like what I play.
Sure.
And boy, if I'm going to change, they matter not just be just as good. It has to be like, I like, and that's what I'm getting there at Sabian in every way of what their team that's developing things, different options. Now, options can be confusing, and companies need to, including Sweetwater, spell that out so people know what these differences are within the company's lines. What AA is, what's AAX, HH, HHX, Artisan, the different ones, and they're all good.
Yeah.
And
there's different
I think
flavors.
they're all good. I haven't played all of them, I don't think, but the ones I have, I'm loving them. And one thing about Sabian, this is interesting. After I played them a while, they got better.
Yeah.
I'm talking 3 to 6 months of playing on them. And maybe they didn't quite sustain as much, which was a good thing because I'm beating it up. So where they start is not necessarily exactly where they're going to end up, I think. And they end up in a better place.
Right.
Once you have them a little bit. Not
That's
that
awesome.
long, not like, I had it for 8 years and it finally started to sound good. I'm talking pretty soon into it that they change a little bit for the better.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm loving the Sabian.
We were talking about Carl Verheyen, a mutual friend of ours, and I got to do a blues record with him at Sweetwater.
Okay.
But through that record, Sabian was a sponsor of the record, and I got to go up and hang out with the team in Meductic and hang out, watch them make cymbals. We did a great video tour of the factory, watch the guys. It's a really neat process watching those cymbals, man, and then hanging out in the vault all day long with Mike Love and just playing everything.
Well, great musicians too.
It's all good
he
stuff.
is and uses, and what a great guy. He's a character. Carl Verheyen.
Yeah, for sure.
And I got to play with him for quite a few years.
Very nice.
Still do occasionally.
Yeah. Bickford drumsticks you use?
Yes. I was with Wriggletip for a while, and they did a Bernie Dresel stick. And but I started to decide, well, I need mallets though more because I do orchestral percussion too, and so the Bickford whole thing that they offered was working better for me. I love both sticks.
Sure.
And, so when I came to Bickford, they go, well, we can't really do a Bernie Dresel stick. I go, I don't care. I don't need to have my name on the stick. I don't need the ego bump to do it or whatever. So I'm fine with that. I just want to play Bickford sticks. And so I use the Peter Erskine original model.
Okay.
He's a big stick hog. He has 3 models.
I know.
Okay. But the original one, I don't even know if he used the original one, but it's a pretty big seller. You probably know.
Yeah.
And the Buddy Rich stick. Even
Okay.
though I don't know if that's what Buddy played. I really like. That's the stick I used with Setzer originally, the Buddy Rich Bickford stick.
Okay.
So that's a good, nice, bigger bead for rocking, but it's not stiff. It feels fluid and a little flex to it that I like for swinging it, but yet having some solid, more contact to the bead.
Right.
So generally, I think it's good for drummers to have at least, 2 different sticks, one with a smaller bead, one with a bigger bead for different volume, and yeah.
Definitely. You said DW hardware and pedals?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
DW.
So that comes from your old relationship with DW in the past.
Yes,
then, too, yeah.
and occasionally somewhere I showed up, I won't put the other hardware down, but where it's just all that DW hardware works right.
Right.
It's just right. And there's not like, oh, too bad about that. Or that's a pain in the butt. It just works right. It's solid. But the one thing I probably want to brag about the most about their hardware is the damn new, can I say damn? On the
I think you
internet?
did already.
Ultra light.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I had a hernia operation from lifting hardware cases. I'm sure drummers out there know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I have personal experience.
So
yes.
I used flat bass stands with Setzer where they were doing flat bass, which are lighter than their double braced or even their single braced. So, but the ultralight is half that weight, right? I think it's half the weight. It's like a feather. I even bragged to the keyboard player, here, lift this up, and they always go. And so when you combine all that into a case to carry, now I'm like, I'm He-Man. Look at me lift this trap case now, when there's hardly any weight in it anymore.
Right.
So do yourself a favor, get some new hardware from Sweetwater and that ultralight DW. Now, it might, like the snare stem, maybe it moves a little bit, but everything else is rock solid, and it's not going to fall over. Neither will that snare stem, but as you're doing a side stick, okay, maybe you're going to go, I like a little more, but your back will like that less weight, and I'm using that snare stand now too. And
oh, that's fantastic. And last but not least are your heads.
Yes, Remo.
Remo heads.
Played Remo since I was a kid.
Playing big band music, are you using normal, just like coated ambassadors a lot of the time, single ply heads? What do you go to for a lot of stuff?
That's the one.
Okay.
Someone came up to me after the clinic. Oh my gosh, those toms sounded so good. What head are you using? And I said, well, really odd head called the coated ambassador, because that's been around forever.
Yeah.
I was experimenting a little bit with the vintage coated ambassador.
Those are nice heads. Yeah, those are nice.
Which I get confused what the difference. But it's something worth trying to the vintage coated ambassador about maybe how the weight of it or the thickness of it was years ago. It's just another good option.
Yeah,
though,
totally.
I think.
Yeah.
Yet I played the other day on an old Ludwig vintage kit. Someone had Emperor coated on there, and I go, oh, that feels pretty good on that. So again, options.
Yeah,
Remo
it depends on the music you're playing
makes
too. Yeah,
great options. I want to say this too, about the Remo heads too. I feel they take a beating, no pun intended, and even though it's messed up head a little bit, it still sounds to me better for more long than other companies where I happened to try it once.
Right.
And I went, oh, that company's head sounds pretty good. But then after a while, it got beat up, and I go, oh, it's gone. The Remo head could technically be gone, and it's still sounding good to me. Fairly good. I mean, it's get beat up.
Right.
Replace your heads, when they need it.
Yeah.
Including bottom heads, they stretch out too. But that's the thing I think Remo's got going for them, that they seem to they do last longer, where they sound better longer.
Very cool.
And they sound good out of the case. Yeah.
That's all great information.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for
yeah.
sharing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And thanks for coming by this booth and having a chat
yeah.
with me.
Oh yeah, and then here's the record. See that? There's me on the cover. What else? That's the Blu-ray, so that's why it's blue there. Not a DVD, not a live concert video. That's the surround. Yeah.
Bernie, thank you so much.
All right, go.
Good luck in the future, and please come visit us at Sweetwater sometime soon.
I've purchased stuff through Sweetwater.
That we're happy you do.
Okay.
All right. All the best,
All
man.
right,
Thank you, bud.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.